So every wave or electronic music producer should know how to do this effect. Listen to this. I'm gonna show you how to do it in Logic Pro and Vital. Let's go. Alright, so what you just heard is actually the stutter effect I did for my wavetable synth. The basics of this tutorial applies to the same principles as other wavetable synthesizers like Serum, Massive X, and Vital. So I'm going to show you today in this case using Vital how to create that stuttering effect for your synth. So I copied the MIDI pattern down. I can demonstrate to you guys how to do it. Now we're going to play this lead without the stuttering effect. Okay, so first step, you're going to open your wavetable synthesizer. You have to identify how many oscillators are you using in your sound itself. Like over here, we have 4 of them, which is 3 oscillators and 1 sample. Now, the main thing about this kind of stuttering effect is you want to automate the level of the sound itself. I apply an LFO to all of these 4 levels of the synth itself. I'm just going to go to, in this case, LFO 5. I change it to a square wave. And I apply the LFO 5 to the levels of each of these oscillators. What I'm going to do is going to turn the oscillator 1 to 0. Make sure that the LFO is all the way up. Same thing for oscillator 2. LFO all the way up, oscillator 3, LFO all the way up, and for the sampler, level down, LFO all the way up. Great, now I have all the LFOs done. You look at LFO 5, 1, 2, 3, and 4 of these are attached to the levels of the oscillators and the sampler itself. Let's have a listen now with a half sync tempo on the square. The trick is to actually modulate this. Before that, I just want to turn down the smooth and add a bit of stereo, so it's going to be a bit wide. What you want to control is basically the speed of this tempo, because as you increase, let me just play it over here. So how do you do that? Now in wavetable synthesis, you can modulate almost anything, just like Massive X or Serum, in this case Vital. You will need to use a macro knob. I'm just going to drag over here, macro knob 1, drag to the tempo, and I'm going to make sure that the tempo is fast or slow, maybe 1:1. I can drag it all the way up. So whenever I turn the macro knob here, like in Massive and in Serum, there's also ways to apply macro to the tempo of your LFO that's controlling the volume of all of your oscillators. So this is where the trick is. All you need to do next is to have an automation for this. Now, you just have to take note over here. When you control the macro knob, there's a numbering on the side. These numbers will tell you at what position is, what kind of tempo that you're almost hitting. The next thing you want to do is to have these numbers input as automation. I'm just going to add one automation, which is under Vital, and we are going to search for macro number 1. So think of it as the last point as 0 and the highest point is at 1. And you can roughly visualize what kind of graphs you want to sort of draw. Just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to draw something and see if we can make sense out of it. Let's see how it sounds like. What I like to do is I take my time into designing these LFO shapes, because you might want to sync it with your drums and the other synths from the timeline itself. Let's just take from my previous example and you can see how it sounds. So now if you look at this, I've drawn a simple graph and let's listen to how it sounds. But Obviously, this is going to take a lot of refinement, but this is where your art of doing automations with LFOs comes in, and there's a lot of work to do this, and it shows your production sort of like mastery in the whole track. So yeah, this is how I actually do my LFO settings. So you can also change the range of what kind of bar tempo do you want. So what I do is I can always reduce this to 6. Around 6 would be nice, and it will go just a little bit up to 1/8 or 1/16 maybe. So let's have a listen. So yeah, that's how you actually stutter your synth in an LFO modulation through a wavetable synthesis. So that's it. It's a very short tutorial, but at the same time, I need you guys to know that this is part of sound design, and it actually applies to the same wavetable synthesizers just like Massive X and also Serum, which is very popular among you guys as well. So once again, let me just summarize. It's basically the levels of the oscillator, the speed of the LFO, and something to control the speed of the LFO that opens and closes the levels of the oscillator. Now, if you guys want to learn more about sound design, you guys can always follow me on Instagram at Vital VST. I have some tutorials, bite-sized content over at my page, which is basically covering Massive X. And recently, I just did tutorials on Vitals within a minute or two. You guys can find the recipes over there as well. Other than that, you guys can also support me on Ko-fi, as I will leave the link down in the description box below, because on Ko-fi, I'm doing a fundraiser event for me to get the Spire VST so that I can make tutorials out of the Spire VST and also probably make sample packs out of it. Also, if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. Turn on the post notification bell button so that whenever I release useful videos like this on sound design or wave production tips, you guys will get notified. So I'm signing off. I'm Vital VST. It's great to see you guys again on this video and hopefully on the next one. I'll catch you guys soon. Vital VST. Peace out.